G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen. My name is Sam Lin. I'm just an ordinary home cook who's passionate about sustainability as well as saving money by cooking, and hopefully by following this channel you can be doing the same as well. This week's recipe goes down my memory lane, tracing back to my Taiwanese culture. One of the very common street food is wonton actually. It was actually only until I moved to Australia that I realised the wonton in Australian culture is actually deep fried, and it's got yellow skin and whatnot, which is very different from what I had experienced in the past. So today's recipe is going to go through the wonton that I know. So it's really similar to dumplings. It's got thinner skin and it's a lot smaller, so you can have more in one go. So yesterday I went out to do some grocery shopping, tried to find some spring onion, but at the moment it's like $3 a bunch, which I just really don't feel like paying that much for spring onion. So instead I got this. Ta-da! It's celery, and it might look just a little bit weird to you because I plucked all of the leaves and put it into the filling, and it worked out really well. So keen to share with you what I did with celery and all of the fillings that went into my wonton. It turned out to be really delicious. Can't wait to show you. Let's get cooking. This week we're going to make wonton from scratch. To make wonton from scratch, we're going to break it down into two parts. First part is the wonton skin, and the second part is the fillings. To make the skin, we're going to need some flour, some water, and some salt. The dough I'm using for wonton is the same recipe that I used to make noodles. I made a video on how to make your own noodles previously, which I'll put a card in the top right corner where you can find the videos. For the fillings, we're going to use pork as the main ingredient. I tend to buy cheaper cuts of meat and just portion it up at home. First, it's normally cheaper than just buying mince. Second, I know exactly what goes in the mince as well. And also, I'm not getting the plastic trays that usually come with supermarket mince. Here, I have a piece of portioned leg roast, which was on special for $7.50 a kilo. Otherwise, I normally just get shoulder roast, which is only $9 a kilo. Some shiitake mushroom for some umami kick, my spring onion replacement, which is celery, and then I'm going to fry up a brown onion as a fried shallot substitute. The filling yields me about 40 wontons. I'll have the exact measurement on the screen so you can play around with the portioning. I'll be brief with the dough as we have a full video on how to make homemade noodles, which I will have the link down in the description section. To help speed up the process, I'll be using my stand mixer today. I used 300 grams of flour and 150 grams of water, which is the exact same amount as the noodle recipe. However, I only ended up using half of the dough for wontons, so I turned the rest into noodles. It's safer to make extra and then turn the leftovers into noodles than not having enough. Once the dough is put together, I put it in a reused sandwich bag and have it resting on the side for at least 20 minutes to relax the gluten. Next, we move on to our fillings. First, we want to rehydrate our shiitake mushroom. You can use hot water to speed up the process if you're using pork mince. Since I'll be grinding my own meat, I've got plenty of time, so I just use cold water here. I stick my water bottle in here just to make sure the mushrooms are properly submerged. It's not necessary, but just in case. Next up, I'm using the dirty bowl that was used for the dough, so there's one less things to wash in the end. With the celery, I'm just using the leafy part, which is perfectly edible, but normally just get chucked in the bin. The aromatic nature of celery is perfect replacement for spring onion in my opinion. Excuse me for moving things around here. I wanted to use the dough bowl for the fillings, so I had to transfer the leaves out of the bowl so I can cut them up and put them back in there. A little trick when it comes to cutting some chunkier herbs. Roll the leaves up into like a cigar and just slice it through. Next, moving on to the pork. If you're mincing your meat at home, a useful tip to remember is to grind your meat when it's half frozen or half defrosted, depending on which way you look at it. Is the glass half full or half empty? The firmer texture works better with the grinder blades, which will produce a dicier kind of texture rather than some mushy meat sludge. Cut the meat in slabs, then in cubes to grind them up. After a good 20 minutes, the shiitake should be nice and plump. Squeeze out the excess liquid in the mushroom so you won't have mushroom juice running off your chopping board. The mushroom liquid here is great for stock, so I beg you, please don't throw it away. Cut the mushroom in strips and then into tiny 1/2 centimeter by 1/2 centimeter cubes. Put them aside, and next we'll move on to our fried shallots. I'm using brown onion as a substitution here. The flavour is not as pronounced compared to shallots, but it's a fraction of the price, and it's likely that you already have some onion sitting at home. Cut them into 1/2 centimeter strips, and then we want to put a pan on medium heat to fry off. Onion has got a fair bit of moisture in it, so it takes about 5 minutes to fry off. Once done, it should have a golden brown color. They turn out to be super crispy and delicious. And here's some ASMR for you guys. Now we have everything ready to go. In the bowl, we have our celery leaves and mushroom. We have our fried onion and pork mince. Now we want to combine them together. I'm adding 2% of the weight of mince in salt here. That was a mouthful. I had 300 grams of mince, so here just adding 6 grams of salt. And just a sneaky pinch of MSG for the extra flavor boost. And then we combine them together. For some reason, I thought it was a good idea to use a spatula. And then I say to myself, Sam, who do you think you are? Just use your hands. So I did. Now the dough is fully rested, we then portion it up into 8. Follow the same process as making noodles. Flour the surface and roll the dough out. Pass it through the pasta machine, and we want to get it down to setting 6. The wonton skin should be quite thin and semi-see-through. Spread the sheet out and gently flour it over. I fold the sheet over a few times and cut it into roughly 8 cm by 8 cm squares. Once the skins are all cut, spread them out on the board and we can start assembling. Different from dumplings, wontons don't need to be packed with fillings. Because the skin is so thin, you really don't want to overfill it. Apply some water on the edges and fold the skin in half. Pick the wontons up and still have it parallel to the working surface. Bend the 2 sides of the wonton towards you and pinch the corners together, and we just made some classic wontons. The next folding method is my preferred way, which requires no skills whatsoever. Basically just have the filling sitting in the middle and pinch the skin around it, like you're making a little pouch. I like to leave the very edge loose so when cooked, it's nice and light. Once the wontons are done, you can cook them right away. I made a fair few this time. To store them, I spread them out in a container and put them in the freezer for a couple of hours so they don't stick together once frozen. After 2 hours, I transfer them into my reusable freezer bags and they are good to stay in the freezer for quite some time. Best thing about them is you can cook them frozen, perfect for a last minute dinner. To cook the wontons, put some water on boil and literally just chuck them in. The wontons will be floating once cooked. Top them with some chili oil we made previously, which you can go watch via the link in the top right corner. And there we have it. The cost breakdown is as below. 150 grams of flour at $1 a kilo equals to 15 cents. 300 grams of pork at $7.50 a kilo equals to $2.25. 2 dry shiitake mushroom at $70 a kilo equals to 35 cents. 1 onion at $1.50 a kilo equals to 12 cents. Celery leaves are basically free because otherwise people throw them in the bin anyway. So the entire recipe gives us about 40 wontons, which works out to be about 7 cents per wonton. For the plate of wonton, 6 wontons at 7 cents each equals to 42 cents. A spoon of chili oil at about 1 cent. Altogether, 43 cents for some delicious wonton that you can easily pay $7 to $10 at a restaurant. Alright, there we have it. One of my favorite comfort food. Just the skin on it, it's so much lighter than dumplings and the filling just pack a punch. It's so good. I really encourage you to try it at home. It's so good. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I try to update a recipe once a week, so stay tuned and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.